Welcome to Real Bass Lessons. My friend Rob Gourlay is here with me again, and we're going to do a little funky thing for you. I think what we'll do is just play a little groove, maybe some chords and a little melody and solo, and then we'll teach you, talk to you about what we did with them, okay? Good. So, Rob, here's this drum machine. Play your groove. I like it. Excellent, Rob. I'm loving it a lot, but let's stop, okay? So that's just a little bass line that Rob worked out. And what are the chords on this one, Rob?
So we're going D to G, both seventh chords, all of them. E, A7, and then there's a little C7 back in there. I don't know if the chord's there, but it's a little connecting part of the phrase.
And you see what I was doing? I was just playing the thirds and sevenths.
It's all dominant chords, yeah.
Now, you paying attention to Rob's bass line? I want you to learn to play it with us, okay? Let's do it again, Rob. You start the bass line. I'll play a little melody. Ready? I let it get back to the top. Here we go. Oh, let's stop. I was getting into a solo first.
I like it a lot.
Let's explain conceptually what we do, okay? What do you think about, how do you approach making a cool little bass line like that?
Well, that bass line, I just kind of hear that in the drum machine groove, something that, that would fit along with that. And in this case, doing a chord progression that's not just random chords, but something that has a continuity to it and that is a phrase. So in this case, we've got those two chords and then leading back. So it
first
goes
chord
somewhere.
D,
yeah.
to
G7, yeah.
Then E,
E,
then to A. Then you got that little fill. So you can call them other chords if you want, but I just call it like a little fill.
Just a little fill, that
good.
Kind of little tension there.
And how do you make it sound good? What do you do?
Well, locking in with a drum machine, have a simple. This is a simple groove, but the consistency of it is important. It's not just random, kind of jamming every time. It's trying to keep it like a solid part that repeats. That has a phrase to it.
I was going to say, I hear you making phrasing too with what you play. Show me what you did real slow. Yeah, do it. It's like. Now he's going to do the same thing up here. And here comes that little fill. Again. Nice. Continuity and phrasing. Good. I do the same thing when I play the chords. Listen to this by myself. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I play a rhythmic phrase. There are rhythms that are common to all good music. Whatever the style, jazz, funk, rock, the guys who are playing that style are playing a shared vocabulary that they have learned, internalized by listening to great players. Rob's listened to all the great rock, funk, jazz players growing up, and those rhythms get inside you. It's not just random. See, we could go, but random is generally not a part of good music. It's repetition and phrasing. Let's play our chords together and your bass line. And I'm not copying his phrasing, but I'm playing a phrasing.
Call and response.
You bet, a little call
Yeah.
and response. Let's try it just together, two of us. 2, 3, 4. Good, do it again. Cool. Now, how do you make a melody? Well, for one thing, is keep it short. Keep it kind of small. Some people think melodies are all over the place, a lot of notes. If you can do that and it sounds great, good. I normally can't. I got to stay with real simple root kind of stuff. So what I did was I just took a little shape and I decided that's my melody. Actually, I went, that's right, first part and the next part. Next part. And then that last part, I left a little space. Yes, and I improvised around with it. It took me a little bit to actually figure out what I was going to do exactly, but that's fine. I still kept that sort of phrasing in shape. Play your bass line, and let's watch this. 2, 3, 4. Space. Sure. So the phrasing I created, even though they were different rhythms and notes, it tied in with his. It was a question, it was an answer, it was a question, and then an ultimate answer.
And you can see that visually too, because you can see he's got a shape,
Right.
and he develops it a little more, adds in a little bit higher range, and then goes up to a
You
part
bet.
that with some notes that we haven't had in there.
That's the
And,
ultimate answer.
Yeah, so it's not you're using you're using a shape of notes, but it's developing and
You
changing
bet.
throughout it to create the different phrases. So it's really,
I'm using pentatonic shapes. I'm just keeping them real simple. Let's try it again. I'm gonna play, but I'm gonna play a little bit of melody, and then actually
All right.
we'll do all the parts, and I'm gonna solo a little bit.
Okay.
Here you go. Yeah. Take a little solo. Yeah. Your turn, a little solo. That's nice. Good, let's stop. Rob, I hate to stop you. This sounds so good. Tell them a little bit about what you were thinking about, what you were doing during your solo.
Well, I was kind of basing it off the notes and the kind of sounds that you'd introduced in there and trying to kind of
Nice.
take off from that point. And I think that all the parts in this are, you're hearing something in the other part to kind of indicate what to do. It's like you said in the language
Yes.
and of the parts. It's not like you just, I'll just make something up. No, they're very specific types of things for this kind of groove. And when somebody establishes something, it's like kind of handing you off the baton
bet,
and you
you
keep going. It was kind of the approach that I was taking with that.
Show them like the notes where you were playing.
Same kind of thing that I was seeing you do.
Exactly.
And adding that bluesy note in there, to get that, and then, moving up into the next area,
You bet.
adding the F sharp, which we hadn't heard when we were playing with that.
That's tremendous.
And then just, taking up range-wise a little bit
Nice.
higher.
Yeah, that's where I went up to my
Yeah.
solo. And I worked my way up
Yeah.
there. You bet.
So just kind of, and thinking more melodically, I guess, on it, but just what
What
seems
is
to
melodic?
melodic.
How do you describe? Thinking more melodic. What do they do? What do you do?
Well, it's not I guess the phrasing, there's a phrase to it,
Yes.
and it also kind of makes sense. It doesn't sound like, you're not playing.
Right. Or
Yeah, exactly. It makes it kind of, you're led along, as a listener on it, like in something that makes sense. That's kind of I guess people call a story or whatever, but
You bet.
it's just phrasing that kind of makes sense with the music, but that is going somewhere hopefully, and and that you're developing as you go. So that's kind of the approach on that, and that's from your approach
course.
that you hear that. And his solo, it's not like he's just going to wing something that just see what happens. You're not doing that. You're playing.
No.
You don't know what the solo is exactly going to be, but you're using a group of notes
Yes.
and rhythm and that to make those phrases, and that's good music, right? Yeah.
it bet it is.
Yeah.
One of the things that I see happens to students a lot is they sort of get that deer in the headlights kind of thing when it's ready, set, solo, and they play terrible rhythms. All you really got to do is work on quarter notes and eighth notes. Sure. And space. I always love it in the space. In any of this sort of funky kind of related music, man, there's space. Leave some space. Let it breathe. I did that in my bass line. I didn't learn. I was busy over here doing my own thing. I didn't learn the bass line that Rob showed you exactly. So I just went. Sure, I just kind of did my own thing, but I made it consistent and I left a lot of space. It felt good for him to play it.
Yeah, and he wouldn't notice that it's even a different part because it makes sense within
Exactly,
itself.
exactly.
So-
Rob, this is killer. Let's just play a little bit and have some fun to take it out here, okay? Let's start our whole process again. Go for it. Or rather, a little funkiness. Sorry.
Nice.
Oh, that's killer. Anything you
right.
want to add, Rob? You think of
Just it's so much fun to play this kind of music.
Oh, it is,
Yeah.
isn't it? Good.
With a guy like this. that is,
Oh,
with
yeah.
somebody who
Thank
likes
you
to
very
do-
much.
yeah.
Thank you. The overall thing I want to say is use your ears, and you say, to what? To listen to great freaking music and copy the phrasing and the sounds. You got to get it in before it comes out. If you'll notice, everything we played on the bass, it physically wasn't real hard. It might be beyond some of you, but for most of it, you can play that. Well, yeah, but it's knowing when to play it and when not to, and it's learning that shared vocabulary. That's what it's all about. It's such a pleasure, as you said, to play together because Rob and I share the same vocabulary. It's that 60s and 70s rock, funk vocabulary. That's what it is. Fire it up. Keep practicing. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.